Hello and welcome to episode 52 of Let's Run Facebook Ads, the podcast with myself, Nick Boddington, and my colleague, James Urquhart. Today, we're going to be talking about how much money you should be spending on running ads, because this is the question we get asked probably the most out of everything. So we thought, why not do an episode just on this topic? This is going to relate to anyone who's running a small budget to people who are wanting to scale and run larger budgets. But remember, if you're struggling on what ads you should be running on Facebook and you're struggling to get the traffic or the conversions and you're just finding the whole thing very, very confusing, then you need to come and check out the Ads Clinic. I can come on for 30 minutes with you to look at your ads, see what you're doing, see what you're running, seeing where you're going wrong, hopefully fix some things. And thereafter, if you want to have us as a consultant, then we can sort something out. Go to theadsclinic.com to get started. Hello and welcome to the Let's Run Facebook as a podcast with me, Nick, and my colleague, James. James, how are we? Good afternoon. Welcome back.
Good, are you?
Seems like a long time since you've been on this. I would like to think that everyone's missed you. I'm not sure they have.
Well, you wouldn't have.
No, to be fair, it seems like ages we've had a chat on here. Liv's been sort of taking over, isn't sure. She came on the one last week. I've done a few single ones. Well, you're just a bit busy, aren't you? Which is a good thing. It's like a good problem to have.
Yeah, we've been busy, and we can now officially say why I've been a little bit busy. So
yeah, well, go on.
We have a new recruit at Let's Run Social, and that new recruit is a guy called Jake Sweeney, who we've brought in from a marketing automation firm, who I've worked with for probably 10 years now, give or take, Nick.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was looking for a new challenge, and yes, so what we've been doing and how we've been disrupting the market, and we were lucky enough to get him on board. So Jake's come on as our commercial director and really helping us to strategize really more with clients. So he's worked with some of the big boys, so people like Travis Perkins, a lot of charity clients like the PDSA. And yeah, he's grown their client base in terms of retention, average order values, spend by huge amounts. So yeah, to have him on board is a huge win for us, but also for you guys listening, because there's some stuff that he's brought in even over the last 6 weeks that we've not really looked at in that perspective. And you know, Nick, we've seen some results increase with clients in such a short amount of time, because of a different way of looking at it, which sort of ties into spend today, doesn't it? So that's how it's been, Nick. So this is why everyone's had to hear just from you, which I'm sure they adored.
So don't worry, guys. It's not everything we've been teaching over the last year isn't wrong. It's completely right, I suppose. From our point of view as running as an agency, we're doing things differently now. So ads are still being run the same way. How we report back to clients, what KPIs we use for certain clients, strategies we use for certain clients are all different. But bear in mind, it comes with a lot of ad spend. So, we're talking about clients who've got a lot of money to spend, which sort of brings us to the topic of this podcast, which is how much money should you spend? So we're going to talk about whether you're running, should be running £10 a day, whether it should be £300 a day, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll go into a little bit about scaling and stuff for the ones who are listening to this who probably have got more ad spend. So let's start with that question. How much should you be spending on your ads? Well, if I go first, so it all comes down to really how much money you've got as well. I think the biggest mistake people make, especially small businesses, freelancers, entrepreneurs, et cetera, at the early stages, is that they go into Facebook marketing with a hoping for the best kind of attitude of, okay, I'll put a little bit of money into it. So they just throw £30 at it. Literally, it runs for a matter of days. They haven't really got any results, and they say it didn't really work because they didn't get an order. So it's going in for completely the wrong way altogether. What you need to do is really think about it as what are you trying to achieve? What's your goal here? And look at Facebook as an actual, this is going to become a marketing channel, isn't it? And you need to think, you can't just dibble and dabble or use a bit of your own money. You need to set aside, if you set up a business, you need to set aside funds for these sort of things, because you've got to take this seriously. You've also got to really strategize and understand what you're doing. And obviously you guys are listening to this because you're wanting to understand how to run Facebook ads and how things work. But you need to be realistic on the amount of money you need to put aside. There is a metric that we go by, which is really based on an average order value of times it by 4, on a daily spend. So for instance, if you've got an average order value of £50, like, you need to be spending in the hundreds to get some orders coming through. If you put £10 a day spend when your product is costing, average order is costing 50 quid, you're not going to get an order for 5 days. It's like, it's really kind of that simple. You've got to give Facebook enough budget to be able to find the audience, the orders out for there. So James always talks about the fact that this is a level playing field. It is, and we'll go into that. It's a level player. You can go up against the big boys because Facebook isn't looking at how much money someone is spending, so to speak. Yes, the platform does get crowded, but it's not looking at that. If your biggest competitor ends up being a blue chip company and you're trying to disrupt the marketplace, if you do amazing content with amazing copyright and everything, and it's resonating and engaging with the audience, Facebook is going to take notice of that. But at the same time, you also need to give it some decent kind of money to actually get in there, don't you, James? Do you not agree with that?
In terms of average order value, yes, times by 4, I think is a reasonable place to start. I think
that's a lot of money for a lot of people, isn't it? If they know their average order value is 50 quid, and they're like, oh, but that's too, like, imagine that's 200 quid a day. Imagine someone told you it's £200 a day that you've got to spend. That's also unrealistic. So I also don't believe in that stat that much, because I think you can start off with not that kind of money.
I think there's 2 ways to look at it. Yes, some people won't be able to. And for those, it's understanding what you're trying to get out of it. So something that, I've been, as you said then, pestering on about, is that this is a level playing field. And it absolutely is, because all we're doing is trading time for money. So we're leasing eyeballs, aren't we? That's what we do as advertisers in digital. We're leasing eyeballs. But then when it comes to actual purchases, you do need a lot of eyeballs to see your product or service. Now that is going to cost money. So yes, you can go in and test certain strategies or campaigns with certain types of budgets, but also you are going to have to spend some money. And if you have only got £10, £20 a day, are you really going to achieve what you want to out of it?
Because I think also, like, we've just had a discussion on with the team about a new drinking card game that's coming on, and we're about to start running an ads for them this afternoon. And it's very, very new. We're going to warm up the ads manager, get Facebook used to the spend, all this sort of stuff. But you would look at that product and go, that is going to absolutely fly out the door. It's 20 quid, £19.99. It's really funny. It's quirky. It's everything. This is why we're having to go with the policies and make sure we're doing everything right. But we've done this enough times to know, even if you've got the most amazing product in the world and you look at it and think that is going to fly out, everyone's going to buy it, it's not that easy. You've still got to do all your testing. Yeah, you might get a bit of luck. You've still got to do your testing at the beginning. You've still got to test out audiences. You've got to find where those audiences are. You've got to find the messaging that resonates with the audience. And can you do that level of testing? It's like when I come on to consultancy calls with people and they're like, okay, well, I just want to spend £15 on that. I'm like, oh, it makes it harder, because you're not going to get the data back quick enough either. It's like, okay, well, we'll have our next call in 7 days, and because it's going to take 7 days for the data to come back to actually make any decisions. And you're hoping that you get an order in that 7 days. Otherwise, you're going to look at 20 quid a day, 15 quid a day over 7 days. I'm not going to do the maths, but it's more than you want to spend if you haven't got an order at the end of it.
No, and I think what you said there about the 7 day, now it's taken that long to see what's going on. So this notion that you can do an ad like we used to be able to and suddenly see results tomorrow, you come to a level, but true knowledge and true data from that ad, you need 7 days now, which then brings back into the budget, doesn't it? Have you got enough money to sustain it for a week? Now, personally, if you don't, I wouldn't even touch Facebook. but also if you haven't got the money for a 7-day window, are you ready to advertise at all? Or, not to sound harsh here, but if you've got a bit, I know where I'm going with this, don't you? It's hard.
Well, at the end of the day, James, you're in business. What's the point in being in business if you're not going to, you're not going to, Facebook is a fantastic channel. And, when we compare Facebook to TikTok, we're in the realms of, we've just won our first TikTok client. We've got other clients wanting to look at TikTok. A lot more creative effort has to go into TikTok. So yes, TikTok is a cheaper platform. It's a newer platform. There's things on it, but you have to get any success from TikTok, you've got to stay native to it. The beauty with Facebook is you can just you can go into Canva, you can create an ad, Canva will do it in the right shape, size for your post, all this. It's very simple. You can do that on a free account. It's very simple to get something that you think's going to engage, or get 5 different images or creatives that you can test on an audience, see which one gets the best engagement. When you say, okay, well, I'm going to give TikTok a go, unless you're native to the platform or you've been doing things on the platform or whatever, I mean, that's the hardest part, isn't it? With those other platforms.
I knew you were going to use the word native then. That's like your word of the week at the moment.
My word of the moment, yeah, keeping everything native to the platform.
But you're right. It's, especially when you start going to, when you're going multiple platforms. So let's say we PPC versus Facebook as an example, which everyone says, which one, and we hear a lot, which one would you go for? Well, they're 2 very different platforms. You've got PPC, which we know is more expensive because it's an auction site. So that isn't a level playing field because you are going to lose to the big boys. End of. There's no getting around that. But they are people in market. And Google know that, which is why it's going to cost you more money. A lot of people then will do PPC, but then will never look at Facebook because it's harder to do. Because with PPC, all you've got to do is do a bit of copy and you're clicking through to a sales page or a landing page or website, whatever you're doing. Whereas with Facebook and social media marketing, this is it's invasive, which means you're not more testing in terms of creating a copy, which, costs money. And then to actually get into those audiences, you've then got to spend money to get to them. So you've got sort of two issues there in terms of actual budget and spend. You've got all the copy and creative if you don't do it in-house, which is very expensive. I spoke to Heron Foods this morning, who have 400 sites across the UK. Even they're sick of paying their agency for creative. A business of that size who are owned by B&M, huge business, even they're sick of it.
Well, sick of paying for creative?
For the volume of creative they need, yeah. So obviously they've got all their billboards, their, in-store.
Yeah, it's constant, isn't it?
Yeah, it's massive. So they've actually employed 2 in-house creative people now because when they, weighed it up against the agency they used, saw clearly there was that was the, and also from a speed perspective, they were able to get creative back quickly. But again, that's another cost. So it's not just about spend. And this is what I get my bargain for a lot, is that I was all about ad spend. You see all these ad marketers and people, competitors to us going, oh, yeah, amazing, we got this client 3 times ROAS. Okay, does that include your cost, your creative costs, your copy costs, your management fees? All of that needs to be taken into account before you start spending money on these platforms.
Which is why, especially with our big clients, we'll look at it from over a 12-month period, won't we? And it'll be getting away from ROAS, which is, the thing it bites you in the arse, because if you're running your own ads for your own little business and you're getting 5 ROAS, and that out of that you're making some money after all your costs, that's great. But for a big business that we will work with, it'll be like over 12 months. Okay, you've given us 250,000, which includes our fee, includes the creative that you did, blah, blah, blah. You've made 600. Take off the 250 you spent. That's how much profit you've made. And that's how it needs to be looked at, doesn't it? But the thing is, when I was talking about TikTok earlier, and it's like, if you're not prepared to go onto these, why Facebook is good, with TikTok, you need to be, it's constant creative. Because you're working on trends and things like that, your creative on average is going to last 7 to 14 days. On Facebook, we've got clients who are using the same creative, and they've been going for 6. That roofing company, we've got creative on there. Some of the ads that are still working, they've been going for 8 months.
Yeah,
you can't do that on all these other platforms. Like Facebook and Instagram is an amazing platform to do it. So if you're not willing to go through that testing process of doing it yourself, testing out some creative, just putting some effort into your own business, then you need to look at whether you should be in business or not.
But in terms of spend, we always say, don't we, £10 per audience per day. I know we did say 5. I've upped that a bit recently to in Q4 just because we know that it's more expensive. So I'm working at the moment around £10 per audience per day. That's what I say from a front end perspective. Now I know when obviously it hits you guys and the team in the back end, you'll be testing loads of different stuff and all that.
We work up £10 as well, £10 per audience per day. So if you're thinking that you need 4 audiences, that's 40 quid.
Well, okay, so look at the card game that Liv's actually working on the ads as we speak. So we've got to do, because it's a bit close to the mark, isn't it, this game? It's called Horny Devil Games for anyone that's listening.
Yeah, a little bit of a shout out on Amazon. Actually, can you even buy it on Amazon?
Yeah,
no, it's Amazon, but isn't it a different department of Amazon, which I never knew that existed?
No, it's on Amazon, Horny Devil Games, or if you typed into Google Diablo.
No, still Horny Devil Games.
Horny Devil Games.
Yeah.
It's like Double, but a bit.
It's basically rude. Everyone gets a stack of cards, and there's one card in the middle, and you have to see if you've got the same shape or icon or whatever as the one that you've seen in the middle, but you have to say the sexual position or sexual innuendo that matches. It's a bit like that.
It's not a position, is it? It's like beaver or teabag.
Yeah. So it's a bit, yeah. Hopefully the people listening to this get what we're talking about. So we're obviously going to set the ads up, go through the policies, but yeah, go on. What you were saying about it, Liv setting it up.
So that's being set up at the moment. Now, because we've got to get some ad spend going for the account and get the trust up with Facebook with this particular brand, we've got to do what you guys discussed on the call prior to this podcast, which was a vanilla ad. So it's not all the creative that we've had done, which is a bit close to the mark, but it's good.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Fantastic. And it'll work really well, but we can't just put those straight out. So we're doing £10 a day, but we're only using one audience, which is Cards Against Humanity, which is a competitor. Now, if you decided to Liv, can you also do Scrabble or Monopoly?
Drinking games, partying, all these different audiences. You want £10 an audience. And then you've got to think, the rule of thumb is you need to get to 2,000 impressions per audience to be able to make any decisions on. And in a way, James, that's probably going up a little bit now because of the time it takes for data to come back and everything. So let's work it off 2,000. And the average CPM, let's work it off a tenner. We get better CPMs than a tenner. And that's basically means cost per getting to 1,000 impressions. So it's going to cost you £10 for 1,000 people to see your ad. And you've got to spend £20 to get 2,000 people to see your ad, times by how many audiences you've got 4 audiences, you've now done 80 quid.
Yeah.
Just to figure out which audience worked.
Yeah. And for a game like David's, there's not huge margins in it. So it's not like with some of our clients, like the roofing company that you said a minute ago, there's huge margins and what they do and what they sell. And obviously their average order value is huge. This is a £20, £25 board game. That's it.
There you go. So there's a topic of this conversation there, of people who have got their product with them now or thinking about a product. What's your margin? You've got to have room to play with. Otherwise you end up becoming a volume. Otherwise it becomes a volume product, doesn't it? Where you've got to sell huge volumes, massive revenue, little profits, but your spend has to come from somewhere. Ideally, you want your business to be able to fund itself. Otherwise, you're having to inject money from your own personal money into your business all the time because your margins are so tight. So like MIDI Games, who was one of my consultants, he'll be listening to this, sort of prime example, not of his margins, but he sells his product for like £12 down from 24, $12 down from 24. On the first day, actually, he had 4 or 5 orders, which came through at like £5 per order, which average order value, not too bad at all. He's really happy with it. I said, look, just go with it now. Just let it ride out for 7 days, if not longer. Let's see what you get. It crashed the next day. Like the next day, it just literally bottomed out for 2 days. I've got access, so I keep on having a look, but it's risen up again. But he was panicking. He was like, oh, you know, it's like, okay, don't look, just turn it off. Don't go into it for 7 days. Like, you've really got to have balls of steel for this, haven't you? I mean, it's easy for us to do it without someone's money, but when you're controlling your budget, you're looking at your ads, you're looking at every single link. I know what it's like. Christ almighty, refresh gets you orders. You know, every time you refresh the ads manager, oh, maybe I've got another order. We all do it. You're being too close to it. You're being too emotional. You need to look at it as business money.
If you're too close to it and you're emotionally invested in it still, you've got to somehow remove yourself away from that, because you're not going to be acting in the right frame of mind when you're running the ads. And again, let's go on to why Jake has been brought in, is because, you know, he's so good at strategizing, and, you know, he's done it for many companies in the UK and around the world, and he's looked at it in a very different perspective with budget. So rather than, as a front end, me going, what budget have you got? Which was a question I used to ask all the time. Now what happens is we actually have a discovery call with the client, and we go through in detail what their, you know, all their figures in terms of average order value, lifetime value, margins, how much product they've got, what the percentage is in terms of conversion rates from landing page views to, you know, if it's e-commerce or, you know, offline sales, how many then need a phone call, all that stuff. And we also get an understanding of what audiences they're trying to get to. And following on from that call, which, you know, the call's around an hour and a half, Jake and I will then create a strategy document around a budget that's fit for purpose, rather than trying to fit a budget, a purpose around budget, because then that doesn't work.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've said that right, because that sounded really bad, but you know what I'm saying, Daniel, on that one.
So a simplified way. So rather than them saying we've got $3,000 and this is everything we want to do, and we want this many orders and this many leads or whatever, you find out on the discovery call what they're going to do. We then look at the audiences, the different types of things we can target, how much the creative is going to be, what sort of creative you need, how much you could need. And then you'll say, you're actually going to need $7,000 for what you need to do.
Yeah, so Dave was a good example. So David's, we could have gone, you know, we could have, I'm actually going to get this up now while we're on the phone, actually, to give you an idea. So if I look at David's, which is the Horny Devil, for now, again, we could have gone really broad with that, because in truth, you know, a lot of people can play his game. Can't they? You know, it's a board game, especially also it's a card game at Christmas. But again, rather than go to every man and his dog, what we've done is we've created addressable markets. So we've done a switcher. So we've done a switcher campaign, which is people that already play Cards of Humanity and games of similar ilk. And we're trying to switch them across to Horny Devil. We've also got Christmas preppers.
Mm-hmm.
We've got drinking games and party people.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got 3 audiences there. Now, I'm sure between the two of us now, we could probably think of another 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
But the budget didn't allow for that, and we haven't gone with that. We've gone with those 3 addressable markets to start with, and we fit a budget to fit those.
And what's interesting enough, actually, as well, is the fact that as you're reading those out, I'm already thinking about how I'm going to communicate to that audience. So that also happens when you've got limited budget. You know, fine, if you've got limited budget, only 10, 20 pounds a day, find one of those audience. Let's say we've got Christmas coming up and you've got that Christmas audience. The wise thing would be to say, okay, we're in November now, Black Friday's coming up, then we've got Christmas. You could start thinking about Christmas. So how are you going to talk to, how do you want the audience to see the ads, and what copy is going to resonate with that Christmas audience, basically? Start off there, get that one working, then resonate with another audience. And that's what I've been saying to MIDI Sounds, because he's got so many different audiences of different types of music, because he does keyboard for different types of music. You've got all these genres of music in, but it's a different, you can't just say, hey, are you looking to play your favorite music? You don't want to say that. You want to say, hey, are you interested in orchestral keys and sounds? Here, this product's fantastic for you to get orchestral. Do you see what I mean? Or hip hop or rap or whatever. It's exactly the same. So we always talk about that on our shows, don't we? Thinking about the audience and how you're going to talk to that audience individually, a persona within each audience.
Yeah, and when I'm looking at this document here that we now create, we actually go ahead and put a requirement against that. So if I look at the Switcher campaign, we proposed 3 carousel and 2 videos. If I look at the Christmas preppers, 4 carousels and 8 static images. The drinker and party people, that's 4 carousels and 1 video. So again, before we've even spent money on an ad, we've gone into actually what do we need to get the engagement we need from that ad. And then what we've done is we've then put a price against each addressable market. But what we've done is we've done this in the past, and all those years ago, is we'll go out and we'll optimize the conversions and we'll put out an ad to an audience that we think is going to buy, which does still work. But obviously post iOS 14, we've now had to, and we've seen things working and not work, haven't we? And we've sort of gone, maybe we need to switch it up internally. What's really working at the moment for us is actually creating our own addressable markets. So if you look at those 3 there, so you've got Christmas preppers, Switcher, and party people. Now, with Facebook audiences, yes, we can probably get to some of them. We can't get to exactly the ones we want. So what we've done is we've created those campaigns, those 3 campaigns at the top, with the carousel, the video, the static images. You put budget behind it. Now, I think actually on this one, Nick, it was around £1,200. I'm just going to get it up here. Ad spend, here you go. So this is for a 6-week campaign. So Christmas preppers, Switcher, and drinking games and party people all had £1,500 ad budget each. So that's £4,500.
Yeah.
£4,500. That would estimate to around 300,000 impressions. Average engagement will be 7%. Essentially, if you go all the way along, which I won't go over with, we estimate a cost per acquisition of around £9.92 for a £25 gain.
Yeah.
Now, once we've created those audiences, now the middle of funnel, which is our new middle of funnel, is our ads, which the ad spend now has gone down to £1,200 on top of the £1,500. So again, a lot of money, isn't it? It's not cheap. That now is asking for a commercial ask. It's asking for the sale. So rather than going to the addressable market, which is, hey, buy this game, we're just trying to get us interested in us, and we're being interested in them.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're going out and saying, hey, do you like these type of games, whatever that may be? Our game's funnier than Scrabble, it's funnier than Monopoly. Oh, this is interesting. Get them interested. And then we're asking them to purchase the product.
Yeah.
But the problem is, Nick, those strategies that work cost a lot more money. So for this ad,
doing so many different ads at different stages. So we all talk about the top, middle, and bottom of funnel. Unfortunately, if you've only got £10 a day, £20 a day to go into, you're starting to not even have enough money to do a middle of funnel or bottom of funnel, or one or the other. In e-commerce, it usually works well just to do a top of funnel, and then maybe a retargeting ad, a DPA ad, or a dynamic product ad, which is where it will show the product that they've looked at, or you do a 7-day stat, which we know it works. But you've automatically already got 2 budgets there. So you're probably going to need £10, £20 a day for your top of funnel, and then £10 a day for your middle of funnel, at least. So there's 30 quid a day, and you haven't even done any testing.
Well, this one, 6-week campaign, £9,500 in ad spend. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and that's not applicable to everyone because everyone hasn't got that. They haven't got that. But what you need to go into it with is, what is that strategy before I spend money?
Yeah.
It's all good and well going, oh, I've heard this Facebook thing works, or they listen to this podcast and they whack some money out. And absolutely, it will work. It will get you something, but it won't get you the desired results.
Yeah.
It won't anymore, because you've got to have that strategy behind it now. It's not like it was 5 years ago where you whack down an ad, again, traffic can get orders. The platform's too intelligent now.
Yeah, if you spend £20 a day and test 2 audiences, change your columns to performance and clicks. In there, it will show you how many results you got, purchase or leads, your click-through rates, your click-through cost, how much it costs you to get to 1,000 people. And off that, you can start making decisions, because if you're getting, you'll look at it and go, okay, well, we've had 2,000 impressions. It's cost 17 quid to get 2,000 impressions. My click-throughs are coming through at 0.96, let's say 1%, but it's costing £3 to get a click-through to your website. You know already that you're off to a bad start, because you're going to need more than 10 clicks to get someone to buy your product. Because bear in mind, on an average e-com site, 10 landing page views, let's say those 10 clicks, I'd want 10%, minimum 10% to add to cart. So that's one person's add to cart. And then 50% of add to cart are going to drop out. So you haven't got an order. So automatically now you need 20 people to come to your website to get 2 add to carts, but 1 to go through a checkout. And then the chances are that one's not going to go to a purchase. So now we need 30 link clicks to get 3 add to carts. 1.5 people go through to, do you see what I mean? So like, for those who are listening, you can start stacking it up. You probably need 100, 200, 3,000, 1,000 link clicks to get the add to carts, to get people to go through to the checkout, and then to get a purchase. That's just on e-com. If you're looking at landing pages, you want to be working off an average of 20% of the people that come through to the landing pages give you their email address. They up, if it's a download or something, or a little cheat sheet, 20%. And then of those 20% that download the cheat sheet, that's not even a purchase. How many are you going to get through to get to a purchase your product afterwards? There's so much more in it. So it's kind of like reverse engineering and just looking at those simple stats and figuring out how much you're going to actually need. If you base it off, it's going to cost you £10 to go there to 1,000 people, and 1% click through, that's £10, and you've had 1 person come through to the website.
This is all data everyone will have available to them. So you don't have to go into this blind anymore. The shows we do, Nick, I make it pretty clear. Before you spend any money, look at the data you've got available. You'll know if it's e-com, your add to cart, all that stuff in there. You'll have that. You'll have it available. So if you know your website's conversion rates, and you know what you need to put into that website to get a conversion, don't turn your ads on at £10 a day if you know it's going to cost £1 a click.
Exactly. If your website is good, and Shopify or whatever will tell you that your website is converting at 2%.
Yeah.
Which means if you've got 1,000 people coming in, 2% are going to order. But that's not 1,000 impressions, that's 1,000 clicks, landing page views.
And those 20 orders may be profitable, so that's fantastic. But if it's not, then don't do it. Change and adapt your website with the traffic that's already going there, whether that's organically or PPC, whatever it may be. So then when you do turn on ads, you know what you need to then hit, and you know what your benchmark is.
Because the crazy thing when you think about this, and just how much fallout there is. Of 1,000 people seeing your ad, 1% will click through.
But that again goes down to strategy.
Yeah.
Aaron Foods, who I was on the phone with this morning, big outfit, intelligent people, and they admitted to me, James, we post a picture of a Jaffa cake because we get them in for cheap. I said, but who is that resonating with? And he said, no, I know your talk. That's exactly what resonated with us, is that our ads or organic posts aren't really for anybody. They're for us. They're not for our audience. We think it's great.
So they've got a cheap deal on a Jaffa cake, and they just put it on, they just post it.
Yeah.
In hope that someone might see it and go, oh, I'll pop when I'm next at the shop, I'll see if they got any Jaffa cakes in.
Not far off, Everyone does it. Nick, everyone does it.
Yeah, of course they do. Of course they do.
Everyone does it. But the data that's available, use it. And don't go into this naively. You don't need to anymore. Because the data...
with things like that, I mean, it could go slightly off. You always have the one from Aldi or Lidl every Christmas, don't you? Because they always bring out an absolute shiner of a bottle of Prosecco, which sells out in about 3 hours, because they do a TV ad of going, they make a really nice TV ad that looks like it's Marks and Spencer's, and it ends with Lidl Prosecco $4.99 a bottle, in store now for Christmas. And everyone goes for it, don't they? Literally, I'll never have gone to Lidl and go there just to buy 5 bottles of Prosecco because I've seen an advert for it. And the whole word of mouth over the years has been that they do something like that every year, or it's a bottle of gin or something. They just have these crackers, don't they?
Yeah.
Pardon the pun, it's not a cracker for Christmas, but they have these cracking little deals on a particular item.
Yeah.
Get people to the store. Yeah, so that's a complete, but yeah, you're absolutely right. So conclusion to this podcast, because we're coming up to about time now, is
there's just one more thing with budget. If you're not so much for the ads that we do, let's work on for like a 7-day stack ad, which is re-engaging people already in your ecosystem. What I'm working to at the moment is making sure that everyone in that 7-day stack, so your followers, people engage with you, see an ad every 2 weeks as a minimum. So if you've got 60,000 people followers, again,
do the maths.
Times that by 2 over a month. There's 120,000 impressions there. If your CPM's £10, that's going to cost you £120, give or take, because you want to keep them going. You don't want people to, again, it's a busy, isn't it? This is a busy platform. So what we're saying at the moment from a front end perspective is, yes, all the stuff that we do in terms of the strategies are great and they work and they make you loads of money, but actually you've still got to be in someone's front of mind, and especially when you've got multiple products, try and keep in them once every 2 weeks. And that can be cheap, Nick, for a lot of businesses that don't have huge amounts of following. That can be really cheap and really popular as well.
Because I think the whole thing has come down, which we've always hated in this Facebook space since we came into it, but it's all about this return on ad spend immediately. Return on ad spend immediately isn't a strategy. That's putting an ad out there and trying to sell your product, isn't it? If we're, from our point of view as an agency that has different platforms, run ads on different platforms to create a strategy, and then we have email automation at the bottom of it from when they go to a website and then they start getting emails and blah, blah. It would drive us absolutely bonkers if we had to have a return on ad spend for each of those platforms. Oh, what's our return on ad for Facebook? What's our return on ad spend for TikTok? What's our return on ad spend for email automation? You can't do it. So you've got to look at it as an overall strategy. What is your overall marketing strategy? How much are you spending on marketing, and how are you going to strategize so that you make a return for the business as a whole on your marketing activity? But that's starting to probably get, the problem is it's harder for a small business and a large business. It's different. It's different gravy, isn't it?
I would say most smaller businesses have more knowledge of that.
Yeah.
Most, because it's data that you've got available within a couple of clicks. If you're using Shopify, or if you're selling a course, or you're a local solicitor or accountancy firm, you'll pretty much know your numbers anyway.
Yeah.
Really. So I think for smaller businesses that listen to this, and the majority are, use the data you've got. And even if you're running ads now, pause them. If you don't think they're working, or you don't know how to monitor them properly, just pause them and say, right, let me get all this data in front of me and run through it. And what do I actually physically need to do to hit those desired goals? Because something that, again, we're stressing a lot at the moment is I'd rather have a goal to aim for than no goal at all. Yeah. And I think that's really important with a lot of small business owners that, again, will listen to this, is that you can put £10 a day and think you're doing Facebook advertising. It's great, you are to a level, but what, again, are you aiming for? Is it to get a purchase at a certain cost, or what is it? Because I truly believe there's probably 60-70% of people that spend money on Facebook and Instagram, but they have no idea why they're doing it. They know to a level why they're doing it, but why really, they're not really too sure, or how they're doing it.
Because they think they should just do it. It's like I had Fiona on the call, who saw us at the show last week, and she's a freelancer, and she's looking to sign up, and she's like, look, I'm running ads, I'm starting to get overwhelmed. It's working, they're working reasonably well. She hasn't done a bad job really of setting them up at all. Good for her. But she's starting to get overwhelmed because more people, small businesses, are wanting to come to her as Facebook marketer, and she said, I have no idea of the data. She didn't know how to set the columns up. She was using Safari to run ads where you need to run Google. You need to use Google Chrome because you can have My Pixel Helper installed on it, which tells you the pixel's working. All this sort of stuff are just little checklists that you need to have sorted to get things going. In fact, that's a podcast. It's a podcast we're actually going to do all the checklists that you need to have just to be able to make those data decisions. Because we could be here all day, but the creative is one thing, the messaging is one thing, but if you can't read the data that's coming out of it, you don't even know if it's working, apart from looking at whether you got orders or not.
Yeah, and again, start with the data you've got to hand before you run an ad. Stop, again, if you don't know what your goal is for spending money or what goals you need to hit certain, metrics, just pause them, sit down, figure it out.
Listen to these podcasts from the beginning and start again.
Yeah, figure it out, and then once you know where you need to go, set them live again. But it's there's no excuse anymore, is there? Because you've got the data available.
Yeah.
And in terms of spend, you can make this work at £10 a day. Absolutely, you can. But if it's working, then spend more.
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't just sit there and just coast. We don't want to coast, do we?
No. Okay. Well, brilliant. We'll wrap that up now. That's probably.
Nick, are we gonna change the we're gonna change the podcast name?
What's the ad clinic?
No, we're gonna change the podcast name.
Are we?
Yeah. Let's run meta ads.
All right. Yeah. Funny. It's quite cool though, isn't it? Have you seen the adverts for Meta?
Yeah, right. Not that I want to get into this too much, but have you seen that Mark Zuckerberg when he's gone into the metaverse?
No, when they released it on how he's talking about it.
Nick, it's the most awkward few minutes I've ever. Bear in mind, this is the CEO of Facebook. I can't believe he hasn't been trained. I'm gonna have to send you it after. If anyone type
send it after. Send it, mate.
Nick, it's awful. It's weird.
I'll have to look at that. Well, I was watching a video on just like the guy. The video was a guy sitting in his kitchen. He puts on his glasses, and sees other things. Someone walk past and he waves to them. Like, it's just mad. It's mad, isn't it? And even Ray-Ban, I put a post up the other day. Ray-Ban has now got its kind of Google glasses for Ray-Ban X Facebook. You can click. You can video your glasses and put it up to your story.
Okay. From an e-commerce perspective,
I might have to get a pair and just to see what they're like, just to test them out, send them back. And then Josh last night, just talking about e-commerce, Josh, my lad who now works for us, but he was saying that he bought something online through H&M's app. He needed some t-shirts because he was going away, and this was a couple of weeks ago, last week. You stand there, you click the button which opens your camera through the app. You stand there, top on or top off, but it needs to, obviously it can't be a baggy top. And you stand there and slowly turn around in a circle, and it measures you and then tells you what size you need.
Perfect.
Like, how cool is it? In a way, like, it's scary, but absolutely awesome how this world's sort of changing.
Those glasses and the metaverse, in terms of shopping, there won't be a high street anymore. I'm not.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've been into the Amazon store. There's one opened in Putney where I am, but where I go a lot of times. And that's where I was saying to Karen the other day, I was like, I can't wait until that opens. I just want to go in and see how it all works. That's how you went to. You just wanted to see how it worked, didn't you?
To Wembley, didn't I, to watch some of the Euros, and they've got one just outside. And I said to my friend who I went down, I said, "Oh, just bear with me." He said, "Well, you don't need it." I said, "No, I've just got to." I went and bought some sushi, just walked out. It's the best thing in the world. I was literally giggling away to myself. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing.
I have to look at these Ray-Bans actually and just see how they work with the screen, because I wonder if it still works, that it's like, because it's an app within, it's digital, that like a Tesla, you upgrade it by basically hooking up to the internet and doing an upgrade, don't you? Would the glasses work the same, that you just keep on upgrading them as technology changes? Obviously, to a degree, it's like an Apple Watch. It has its yearly edition, doesn't it? But mental.
It's cool.
Like you can just literally post your story of what you're looking at in a restaurant, looking at your food, looking around you, and you post it up to your story rather than holding your camera out.
Yours would actually be quite exciting now.
Yeah, it will. There'll be lots going on in my story.
The doctor.
I am actually dressed as a doctor now. I've got my new coat through.
Yeah, so Nick has become a self-proclaimed doctor in the last few weeks. So for those that don't know,
the ads doctor, the digital doctor, the ads doctor. You're going to start seeing some reels. So send your questions in. If you've got any questions, send your questions in. I'll be answering those questions as the doctor on my reels on my Instagram.
The doctor.
And I'll tag you in. Maybe that's one way you should do it. I'm going to do this and put this onto a Facebook group. People can ask their questions. Easy one. Some people, when I say, hey, have you got any questions, they come back through with an absolute cracker that I'm just like, how long have you got? Little questions I can answer in a little 30-second snippet, and I'll answer them and tag them in on the reel. That's a good. Can you tag in on reels? I don't know. I need to ask the team. I don't know. I'm learning this organic stuff at the moment, like how to actually post.
Yeah, it's a good podcast.
Funny, it's funny, like even so, we are like the most basic people in social media, as in we understand how to make people money in social media, how to use it on a day-to-day basis. We are awful. Jake's come into the team and gone, better get myself a Facebook account then, hadn't I? It's like 15 years later and he hasn't even got the Facebook account. You probably haven't even logged into your Facebook account. In fact, I asked you to do it today and you're like, I've probably logged down, I don't know my password. It's literally just like, our team are just like, what is going on here? Like the people at the top basically don't even use it. I'm trying to, but I am on the phone to Liv like 3 times a day going, how do I add music to a reel? How do I do this? How do I do that? She's just like,
I'll tell you why, Nick, because the reality is it doesn't matter.
You've got things to do.
Oh no, but if you're on social media, all this is leasing eyeballs. So as long as you're native, there you go, your little word for the week. As long as you're native to that platform,
it's an important word.
It is an important word, but then you're just engaging audience. People have been trying to engage an audience since the 40s. Nothing's changed.
Well, advertising started, I think, wasn't it, in 1908 or something? I think the word advertising was created. And that's where you've got some Ogilvy and the top boys right at the beginning of copywriting and stuff like that. That's all it was, talking to an audience. And the thing is that we know and we talk about is it shouldn't change. The platforms change. The platforms change, but sales copy is still sales copy. It's all the same.
It's, nothing has changed.
Call to actions, still call to actions, everything.
The platform and UX and websites, yeah, that's changed because it's made it easier for people to purchase it quicker. But again, all you're trying to do is get someone engaged in a product or service and get them to purchase it. That's it. They're just in different places, whether it's a billboard or online or face-to-face, postal, email. Nothing's changed for years, and it's not going to, unless we get into the metaverse and put some sunglasses on. Look really cool.
Even still, it'll still be a CTA.
Yeah.
Okay, let's leave it there.
Nick, pleasure speaking.
Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye, Nick.
Bye, Doctor.